So, hello. As you can see, it's similar theme as previously. I will talk about AI too and its capabilities, but from a little bit different perspective, more theoretical. If you want to know if some tool is capable to do something, best is to just understand how it works under the hood. So, first I will discuss AI. It will be a very huge simplification because it is an extremely complex topic and we have a limited time. Then I will talk about software development with a little bit deeper perspective to focus on the skills which will be most important in the incoming era of AI. I'm Piotr Gacki, founder of Solarte. We built a comprehensive platform, AI-powered, which can accelerate software development. And if you heard that AI is capable of the only simple things, I would disagree, because we can generate something like 80–90% of implementation, which is almost perfect. And this is not a marketing slogan. I tell you this as a principal consultant with 30 years experience to another software developers. But it is not simple, not obvious. So I will end up a presentation with a few tips and tricks how to use AI to have most efficient results. So when we are talking about artificial intelligence, most people use it as a just synonym for large language models, which is huge simplification, but it still makes sense. Compared to everything what we have available right now, it is just closest to general intelligence. You can perform a huge amount of different tasks. And if you will hear all the promises from the CEO of AI companies, or if you look at the benchmarks, everything looks great. But if you try to use it in the real-time complex task, real scenarios, you will find that pretty often AI makes extremely stupid mistakes. Why is that? To understand it, we will have to deep dive, but we can start with a simple statement. As you probably heard, statistics is the best way to lie. I would say that benchmark even more deserve for that statement. So if you want to prove something, just create benchmark for this, optimize all the tools for this, and you will be able to advertise like this. So we will be talking about the skills. What is most important for the skills? Learn and practice. Continuous loop, never ending. It is only and the best way. So we'll talk about learning. And let's start with methodologies. I decided to distinct 3 levels how we can do the machine learning, how are methods for the learning. First will be imitation learning. It's not any official term. I just decided to use it because there's open discussion. However, human children are learning by imitation. A lot of scientists believe that, but for example, Richard Southern, father of reinforcement learning, has completely different opinion. He claims that children observe parents, adults, but what they do, they imitate goals. And the learning process is by try and error. So, imitation learning can be roughly translated in machine learning is a supervised learning. It is done just by showing huge number of examples. For example, for the object detection, you can have 1,000 of pictures with labels. For example, this is picture with cat, this picture without cat. And AI just adjusts its weights to make proper guess what is on the image. This kind of learning is used in large language models for the first most important phase. GPT, especially for the first 3 generations, was trained on the huge corpus of text, mostly from the internet, but also books, research papers, and everything what was really done was input data was in sharp part of the text. Output, which should be predicted, was just next word. But when the network is really huge and you have large amount of data, it really worked. Not many people believe that. There was crazy people in OpenAI, among others, that decided to try it, and results were interesting. But when you train AI on just continuous text, then results can be only continuation of this text. For example, it was quite funny if you would be able to test these early models and you would ask the question, model response would be continuation of this question, not the answer. So we had to use next level. For this, they used another really great discovery methods, which was reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning initially was used in simulating environments when AI model, this time called as an agent, was able to explore all possible field space of actions, and all this action gets some kind of rating from the reward function. For example, AI could play the game, and when game was won, then all the action that bring to this point received positive reinforcement. When there was failure, of course, the reward was negative. So it was used in large language models initially to improve form of the answer. They train a little bit on the question answer text, but then multiple people was trying to use AI, asking questions and rating answers. In this way, we were able to improve hugely how AI responds. And in fact, this small thing was the most important breakthrough, which brings us to current age. Before that, AI was for enthusiasts. GPT 1 to 3, it was just interesting toy. From GPT 3.5, with reinforcement learning with human feedback, we reached a level when it became possibly usable to something real. Also, reinforcement learning was used in the later stage. When people were experimenting, they found out that when you ask a simple question and answer it short, then the model makes a lot of mistakes. But if there's a longer question and longer answer, there's more tokens to process. So accuracy of large language models improved. That's why they decided that there would be a good idea to have some internal thinking process, reasoning. So it was reinforcement learning was used also to shape the way how AI can reason with itself before it will give the final answer. But it have great results, but we cannot say that it is full implementation of the reinforcement learning. And reinforcement learning, when it is a great idea, it is still not on the human level. So we can move to the third level. I don't have a good name for this because, as far as I know, we don't have any implementation about this. There are a lot of researchers working on this. We have papers with different names, but we have a very brief idea how it should work. What is most important, and again, it is open discussion between scientists, whenever AI have internal understanding of a world, physical world model that could be used. We don't really know. So, next level of the learning should look like more like a human can learn. Because, for example, in reinforcement learning for autonomous driving, agents have to crash the car multiple times to learn how to avoid it. It is not very efficient, and as we know, you can take a young person, put it into car to 10 hours, and he will learn without crashing cars. So where is the difference? The difference is that we humans are understanding the goals, and what is most important, we can use our internal world model to predict outcome of our actions. So again, Rich and Sutton, among others, came up with this idea where the whole loop should look like perception when we observe what is current state. Then prediction. We are using our current world model to trying to predict what will be outcome of actions. Then we choose the actions which will bring us closest to our goal. It will be great, but as I said, at this moment it's just theoretical world, and even if it will be achieved, we still don't know if it will be human level or not, or there will be, for example, some fourth level. So we know that AI is roughly on the level 1 plus out of 3, so not even halfway into the human way of the learning. We can go further. As I said, for skills, what is most important is learning and practice. Continuous loop of improvement. So where is AI from this perspective? So, on the level 0. Because in machine learning, we have always two separate phases. One is training, when you show a lot of examples and let the model to learn the patterns. Then we have separate phase, inference, where you can use the model to do prediction, some actions, but it do not improve itself in this moment. For example, when you have a junior developer, you can give a task, and he will make mistakes. He will explain this mistake, and maybe not after one time, but after a few times, but you could expect that he will learn, he will improve. With AI, it's not working like this. If you ask AI some tricky question, and it will make mistakes, you can explain this mistake and close the chat, open another, and it will make exactly the same mistakes. You can repeat this process thousands of times, and thousands of times it will be the same mistakes, because all the parameters of model are just frozen. It is trained, and after that, nothing changed. There are some experimentation about how to improve this, but nothing that could be used in the prediction. Another thing is when you discuss with the friend, you can expect that the person will reflect on the discussion later. He can call you back later and say, now I understand that I was wrong, or maybe I have a new argument. But again, with AI, it will not happen. So we know that we have a lot of limitations, but I heard quite plenty of times, if we will reach the level when AI can improve itself, we will have intelligence explosion. No one will be able to follow its progress, no one will be safe. So, I don't think it will happen, and I have two reasons. First reason is most people are assuming that AI is a technology with fastest possible growth, which is completely incorrect. If you will study history, you will find multiple technologies where we had the progress from the initial experimentation or even just idea to the production results within years. Greatest example for this was, for example, atomic bomb. And Manhattan Project was founded at 1942. At 1945, Hiroshima was bombed. So it was 3 years. For AI, most of the work was the theoretical work, was done in the previous century. It was just impossible to test it in practice because computers were just not powerful enough. And most of this, what people are perceiving as this amazing growth, it's not really growth of the AI field, it's just more powerful computers. Difference between, for example, GPT-1, when it wasn't impressive almost at all, up to GPT-4, which for me was really mind-blowing. This is just a scale. We have faster computers. We can use more memory. And of course, every new announcement of new version of model claims this is a completely new thing that will broke everything. But reality is that doesn't look like this. Between GPT-4 and, for example, latest GPT 5.2 was a little progress, just some updates. Biggest change was on the benchmarks, but we have a suspicion that their models were trained on these benchmarks, so it was easier for them to solve. In fact, you should pay attention to independent researchers. And we could observe in many benchmarks, which are not publicly available, that the new version of AI is not really better. Other thing is that intelligence is not something that could be counted in a linear way. It is multidimensional. So if you will improve anything super complex in one way, you can have a decrease in the another dimension. So we have a lot of problems with AI, but don't get me wrong. I heard plenty of times that current so-called AI is just stochastic part. It is JPEG of internet. That all it can do is match patterns, retrieve information from the training data, combine it, and return some answer which might sound great because it's sounding like human, but more parrot than anything intelligence. My opinion after many years of experimentation is a little bit different. No one really knows where is the truth, because it's not deterministic algorithm that you can analyze, that you can understand how this works under the hood. It is a statistical black box. So all we can do is trying to understand how it works under the hood and observe results. But from our learn, if you really know how to use it, it is amazing. Our results can be really mind-blowing, and we are still improving. Not so fast like many people could expect. So, but for example, I heard multiple times that we can expect AGI or even super intelligence in this decade. That's stupid. It will not be possible. You heard me. For example, if you have 3 levels of learning, and currently large language models are on the 1+, there's very long road before we will reach anything which will be human-like. But I believe it is possible. We will see. I would predict that more like next half of the century will be a really interesting time to live on. So all this plenty of information, in fact, was background for me to make one simple statement. AI will not replace humans. They are still worth to hone your skills. Now we can talk about software development, because again, I heard a lot. Even if we will not reach superintelligence anytime soon, software development will be solved as a first. Again, I cannot agree to this, taking my whole experience. Misunderstanding comes, in my opinion, from the one big mistake that people often use binary classification for the software. Is it working or not? I heard it plenty times from managers, often CEOs of companies. If AI can create code that is compiled, do not throw errors, then software development is solved. But it's not true. In fact, space of possible working solution to any more complex problem is almost infinite. And there is no straight answer which is better or worse. You can take, for example, let's make 3 implementations. One would be just clean, simplest, that solves the problem. Second one could be a little bit more complex, but created to be more flexible, extensible. Or you can make a very complex implementation which is optimized for performance. And which is best? It depends from the context. And even you cannot say that you can take one direction for the project and follow that. Because even if the main requirement from the client is that we need top performance, what does it mean? It means that you have to optimize parts which will be affecting that performance the most. Other parts have to be just flexible, for example, to use one or another implementation depending on the conditions. Rest, it doesn't matter. In this moment, simplest key solution will work the best. To be able to choose the right solution, you have to understand the context. You have to be able to understand client use case, requirements, how system will be used, how different parts of the system interact with each other. It's not just 0 or 1. Is AI capable of this? When you ask it to implement the function, how it could know the context? It's simply impossible. So, let's talk about the skills which will be useful in the future. Most of the people can tell you that you have to learn AI orchestration. Make some sense, because if you will not be able to do it, you will lost with other people that can, because they will be just faster or powerful and so on. But it is quite stupid for me simplification. It would be something like, I'm trying to explain to someone how to race a car, and he would say to me, most important is know how to turn the wheel. It's true, driving the car is turning the wheel among others, but it's not the skill. So, let's talk about just skills. We started with imitation learning. In the same way, we can think about imitation style of programming. When you have someone that can just years ago from the Stack Overflow find the solution, right now it's just asking ChatGPT and copy-paste, combine solution to do something working. Okay, you can make solution that will be somehow usable, but it will be very, very far from perfect and not really manageable. So if you want to be better from AI, because in my believing, what AI is doing generating code is kind of combining, copy-pasting and merging solution, nothing more. You want to be better, you have to have deep understanding of solution. Then you can, for example, fix the bugs that AI couldn't be able to fix. This learning, reading documentation, tutorials, but most important, you can ask AI to create some implementation, but do not accept it works. Take a look on this. Make sure that every part you can understand, and even better, debug this. Literally, line by line, check everything, every line which is doing. You have to understand it. This will give you great advantage. Okay, next is memory. Many people could say at this moment that I don't need to remember things. When I have a mobile phone, I have reminders, I have notes, I can search the internet, find any information, and it's true. But in reality, you have to think about your brain like about some muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you want to operate in the best way, you have to train it. Even if some skill is not functional, it is about improving overall abilities. And memory is background for everything else. You can't learn if you can't remember. If you want to analyze anything, you have to compare parts of the information between each other. We can say that humans have two types of the memory. Short-term memory and the long-term memory. It works in the similar way for large language models because long-term memory for them is just training data. It builds general knowledge, but you have to be aware that retrieving this kind of information is very inaccurate. So called hallucinations. Of course, I heard 2 or 3 years ago from South Alabama that they will solve hallucinations within 8 months. 3 years ago. Hallucination will not be solved because it is part of way how large language models works. And in fact, it is their power. Because if they can produce the answer, even if you do not can provide them all the required information. And this is hallucination. So we hate when it stated the facts. It could be improved, but we have to just accept that this is part. Second is short-term memory. For them, it's context. When LLM is predicting next word, input text, input tokens is so-called context. But context is limited, and it is a huge problem. You may hear that our new models has a 1 million tokens context, which is huge, one. It's not really huge if you want to provide all possible information. And second, don't trust benchmarks. In benchmarks, there's a famous needle in the stack. They prove that they have almost 100% accuracy over this 1 million tokens, which is bullshit. I'm working with this for a long time, almost every day. I can tell you that it errates. Longer thought context is, there's a bigger chance that AI will confuse information. So, in fact, AI can do a lot, but human memory is much, much more better. And you have to train your memory. Do the simple things. Of course, you cannot cancel DT or calendar, but if you have anything private events, don't rely completely on the automation. Try to remember something, for example, what time there was a meeting, and before you will check the calendar, try to recall this information. Memorize lyrics on some songs, and go back to this. It is important, it will give you superpower if you will have great memory. Next is reflect on and improve. As we already said, AI has pros and parameters. It can't really learn and improve. So use this advantage. You don't fire and forget. When you've done something, think about this constantly. How I could do it better. Next time you will have similar task, you can use that experience and really do it better. This is how you build long-term skills. And it is super important, also combining with the memory. For example, for me, with someone able to create the software, my reward function, whatever I've done good work or not, is not if it will compile. If it is about next 2 years, next 5 years, if the solution which I designed was flexible enough to be extended later, if there's some edge case scenario, is it simple enough that I can safely fix this bug? This reflection after so long period that we know that current AI can do this. But with my whole knowledge about researches and the history of the AI, it's hard for me to even imagine how to build the AI system that could have this kind of reflection, train itself to be better and better with that kind of perspective. Another thing, plan things. Don't try and error, because it is just waste of time. When you try and error, obviously you will do almost the same work multiple times. Of course, when you are young, it's not easy to predict how perfect solution would look like. But try, make mistakes, reflect on these mistakes, and improve. It works. When you will design 10 solutions similar, you'll make 10 mistakes. On the next time, you can use that experience and play even better. Another thing, intuition. It's something which scientists might say that does not exist, but I use my intuition all the time. I cannot have the all possible information for me to make the best decision. But I have to make this decision, so I'm using my intuition for this. And this is also things that you can train. Another thing, communication. You have to, when you plan something, you have to be able to explain to rest of the team what is your plan, and you have to do it clearly. When you want to use AI, you have to be able to explain what do you expect from the AI if you want to have any good results. Also, super valuable skills are customer facing. You have to be able to understand clients, you have to be able to know what kind of questions to ask, and you have to be able to have skills to use that knowledge and create specification. Anything you write is also some kind of information, communication, organizing all the words in the form which will be most meaningful, most useful. And last, not really skill, but something that can help you. My recommendation, but not only mine, you can find it in the plenty of places, especially in the first decade of your career, don't focus on the high salary, because it is short-term thinking, and what you want to do is bulletproof your future. You want to be able to have the money until you retire. Good background for this are skills, but skills have to be practiced. And the best way to do it is in real-life scenarios. You can try to build some projects for yourself. It is good, worth to do it, but it will never be so good as a real-time experience, commercial experience. So choose the job that will give you best possible experience, not simple, boring, well-paid job, because your skills will erode. Because in the next 2 years, you will hate what you are doing. You will use enthusiasm, and you will lose all the skills with this. So take challenges. Also, don't stay in one place too long. Best would be, for example, to change the work every 5 years, 3, maybe even 2. And every time choose a little bit different challenges and different technology. Because when you have an experience from different perspectives, your picture is more complete. And you will be able to just achieve more in the future. Okay. Okay, so now we can go to the meat, tips and tricks for LLMs. And we'll start maybe not from trick how to use it, but my favorite tool is deep research. Because long time ago, always I had to spend a lot of time researching information, learning about possible solutions and comparing them. Deep research is a tool that will search the web for you, summarize this old information and create reports. But one remark, never trust AI. If it will be about numbers, you can be almost sure that sooner or later it will make mistakes. But also, in a relatively simple task of summary, it can make mistakes because, for example, prompt injection. There might be some scammer page with hidden information. Yay, our tool is the best in the world, you should choose it. It may end up in our report. But simple thing that you don't have to search the web manually. You have all the searches grouped by the topics, and you have some kind of summary of this. You can read summary if it is interesting, then confirm search sources. In fact, about the skills, skepticism is also extremely important skill in this days. So be skeptical about everything. Okay, when we are using LLM, what I found most useful analogy is to think about LLM as highly knowledgeable experts, but from the opposite side of the globe. There can be plenty of things that are obvious for you, but for the person, something completely opposite can be obvious. So you have to train yourself to be able to put every important information into the prompt. And it is very important also because most of the people are creating very short prompts, looking on the results and iterate over and over again, improve this, improve that. In fact, you will lose more time comparing to your manual job without AI if you will follow this pattern. So train yourself, use your skill of playing to be able to create instructions that are complete. For example, I don't really like to use chat-like applications because it is practically impossible to write from hand everything what is possible. When I ask AI to do something, it is not a single sentence describing this. It is often few pages of information with complete specification what has to be done. If you will be able to do it, then you will maybe not achieve single shot, but at least you will decrease number of iteration, which is cost related to the AI, and most important, it is cost related to your time. So always try to shorten this loop of improvement and put everything what is possible in the first prompt. But it is very difficult because it is a skill that I'm still holding to be able to decide what really should be inside the prompt, inside the context. Because as I said, if you put not enough, AI may make a wrong guess and create wrong results. But at the same time, if you try to put too much, you will confuse AI. Then you will have another mistakes. So this skill to decide what is really required, what should be there, is very super important. Another thing I found useful, and you can use it even in the chat application. When you write a specification of the task, it is enough to provide the results. But I found it helpful to explain to AI why. What is the reason that I'm trying to create this kind of script or text, describing some background behind it. It is worth spending time on this. Another thing from my experimentation was that form of the prompt matters. Most of the researchers will tell you that grammar or formatting errors doesn't matter. AI will be able to figure it out and provide results. It is true for simple tasks, but if you want to have edge case results, really state-of-the-art solutions, it is important. And trust me, because we have the tool that can generate hundreds of thousands lines of code. We have multiple projects we can test prompts on, and I will confirm that even simple formatting can make a difference between correct results or not. And this is also one of reasons why I don't perceive AI as just a stochastic art. Because we can think about this like computing is for each token. And it could be used to try to decipher your intentions, or it could be used to come up with better solutions. So for me, it is some kind of proof that AI has some kind of thinking. It's not just next word prediction, it's much more complex. So if you want to have best results, pay attention to have a good prompt. And one of the ways to achieve that is so-called meta-prompting. We can use AI to create prompt that will be used to AI to create results. I found it extremely useful because it is very difficult to create concrete specifications. I train myself, but I still make mistakes that I couldn't imagine that AI could make this kind of mistakes. But if you ask AI in the right way to prepare a comprehensive prompt, it will make all guesses there. And you can read this prompt and communicate to improve it, to correct all the bad guesses into the right one. And this is something that I use almost always when I have a production prompts. So I recommend it to you too. Okay, yeah. And it was all for the tips and tricks. If you want to get the most important thing from this presentation, it would be my recommendation for you. Don't use AI instead of your brain. Use AI to empower your brain and train your brain to be able to empower it even more. Put some effort to create initial description of the task better. Put some effort to completely verify solution. At the beginning, it will take you more time. But when you will become better, you will be faster, more accurate, and what is most important, you will not make as many mistakes, and it will save your time, which means that this initial and after effort will be in fact more efficient. And what is most important, again, train skills of your brain. It will give you a better future, which I wish for you all. Thank you.